Alright folks, before we get started with some of the meat and potatoes of this lesson, we want to introduce a concept that is related to blueprints but also related to the development of such high-end technologies as our smart devices, our phones, and our tablets, data pads, whatever you want to call it. And that's the fact that nowadays, instead of just a blueprint being on a sheet of paper, it can easily be in the actual device. In fact, it's easier to transfer, easier to store, and easier to keep up with. So a concept called electronic drawings or blueprints is of key concern to us, because with electronic drawings or blueprints we have the ability to carry around devices, and as these devices get smaller and smaller and thinner and thinner and in some cases flexible, we will probably start to see a very science fiction like way of looking at drawings. For example, it's a lot easier for someone to email a blueprint to someone's device rather than trying to get a hard copy to them. Now don't get me wrong, we do hard copies still all the time in production, but in fabrication drawings, let's say that you go into steel fabrication, field drawings, those kind of things, a lot of contractors and project managers use their devices to check the blueprints. For one thing, they can zoom in and zoom out a lot easier with their smart devices than they can with a piece of paper. It's a lot easier to keep up with and make revisions and send back. So we are in that sort of transition trend where we're starting to see it happen a lot. In fact, a lot of field contractors that I work with prefer digital plans as to hard copies being sent back and forth. They always want digital versions kept on file or available to them on the site more so than they want the hard copies. In fact, we've even had to adjust fonts just to make sure it's a lot easier to read on their smart device versus what looks good on a hard copy. So that kind of trend is happening, and it's a big deal. So for you all, although we're just focusing on the ability to understand them, it's important that you at least have a somewhat of a grasp of the concept of electronic blueprints. And it's really simple. All we simply do in the design process is that we take the actual drawing in whatever form we have it, and we convert it from that hard copy version. Let's say here's a part and a couple of views. That's a horrible version. Let's just say here's a part, 3 views on it, got a little title block down here, that kind of thing. And I have it set up on my computer to be printed off as a hard copy for sure, but I can also use a program to take that file and turn it into a digital file. So for example, this can be converted into something along the lines of a PDF, which obviously you're very familiar with, a portable document format type file, which is a compressed version. It's very simple, low data consumption is used with it, and so it's easy to transfer. It's a very common form of blueprint conversion, and therefore it's really more of an electronic print than it is an electronic blueprint. I'll show you the difference here in a second. Another conversion process we use is one called a dwf. And this process is actually a program. It's actually the program that you're seeing right here on the screen. It's a little program made by Autodesk Design, or Autodesk makes it called Autodesk Design Review. And the dwf is simply the version, an output. It's very similar to a PDF, except it allows us to do a lot of things. It allows us to mark up, like I'm doing on the screen right now, add in text, and say change this. And it allows for a lot of manipulation. So what you're seeing as I've been using as sort of a whiteboard is actually an electronic blueprint format. And so on a drawing, we'll basically just convert the drawing into this dwf and then use it for markups and changes, allow them to take a look at it, and then they can send the detail. Of course, the dwf can go to the smart device, and the smart device can send the dwf back if need be. So to help facilitate the process, I want to make sure that you all not necessarily have to be skilled in the use of electronic blueprints, but at least that you've used it enough to actually be familiar with it, and as those transitions start to happen, you won't be a big deal to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to probably use some of your graded work and convert it back to you in the form of a dwf, so that you can open it. And now the first thing you might wonder is, well, how am I going to open it? I know I can open a PDF because PDFs are very common. How am I going to be able to open a dwf? Well, the good news is the program in question, Autodesk Design Review, is a totally free downloadable program. In fact, they want to give it away as much as they possibly can. Now, there's other electronic versions. There's eDrawings, is a company that makes those, and those are a little bit more geared to 3D models than they are actual sheets of, digital sheets of paper, so to speak. But they're out there too. We'll stick with the sheets of paper version, the electronic versions for right now. So let me show you how quick and easy it is to get one of these programs. I'll just pull up a internet browser and type in Autodesk Design Review. Even pops up there for me. Oh, there it is. Autodesk Design Review, DWF Viewer. I click on it. And it loads up and says, hey, you can view, mark up, all kinds of things. Here it is for free. Now, of course, when you're viewing this video, if you're doing it yourself, you might see a slightly different version, but it's going to get you there. And I'm going to click a little button here for downloading. It's going to take me to there and say download now if I want to. As soon as I figure out where the download now is, there it is right there. Looks like it's in the 2013 version. There is a mobile app of 360, which allows them to open DWF drawings on your smart device. So you see a lot of different variations. And you can obviously get this in Polish or English. Let's make sure we get English here. And the moment that I hit English, it starts downloading it to that format. So it's going to download and install, and I'll tell you what, we'll also provide a link of, the executable file on the online server for you if you just want to download it from our folder on the online server. If you're not familiar with that location, of course, let me go ahead and show it to you real fast. We keep a lot of software in the online server under software. Right there it is. And I'll change this to list here. And let's see, nope, there it is right there. You can download Design Review Executable, which is the same thing I'm showing right now, and you can use it to install on your computer. All you have to do is download it to your computer, double click on it to install, and it will install the program. It looks a lot like what I have right here, and it will open DWF files from there on out. So we're going to make sure that you're at least somewhat familiar with the concept by returning your homework in that format to you, so that you can see it. We'll actually use it to mark up, and you'll just be somewhat comfortable with it. Not a big deal whether or not you use this program or not in the field, but just need to be familiar enough with it when the time comes to kind of start to switch or transition to eDrawings. You'll probably find it very convenient, especially if you go into field fabrication or those kind of production level where you're dealing with bigger things, or your company happens to be spread out over a large range. So just be aware of that, and we'll see you later.